It's October 18th, and the eyes of the Candlepin world descend on Haverhill, Massachusetts for the 2014 Hall of Fame ceremony for Candlepin bowling. This year promises to be, well, actually is, the most prestigious class, I say, out of all of them. And right now with us today is the man that I consider to be the head of our class today in 2014, Mr. Tom Olszta. Thank you very much for being here. Well, thank you for coming. We talked at length yesterday, quite a bit, and you told me that you come up once a year, and you bowled yesterday against your grandson. How did you do?
Fortunately, I beat him. I got bragging rights. We bowled yesterday. I hit about 330. They were both around 320. Then they took me this morning because I knew I'd be sore.
A little revenge.
They both better today. I had 7 marks in a row against them. They didn't like that. So
well, you can still get it done. That's what it's all about.
still got it.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was really interesting when we talked yesterday about how you got your start and how, with your grandfather, going to the lanes at a young age. And one of the things that I find that's interesting about our sport is that the bowlers that seem to be the best of their time grow up in a bowling alley. We had Brian Fuller Jr. here on the show, and of course his family ran these lanes for a long, long time. And I wanted you to talk to our viewers about your experience with your grandfather and getting started.
Well, I remember going to the bowling alley at a very young age. At around 2, my grandfather would take me over. And I can go back as far as 4 years old. I'd have to go get a size 10.5 shoe, get a chair, pull it over to the wall, then I could reach the switch with the chair to put a lane on, and I'd start bowling. And sometimes the bowling alley was next to our house. I'd walk over. My grandfather would be down there working on the machines, and he knew I was there because the bowling balls were going down after him. I'd start bowling. So I grew up in a bowling alley.
And you started, like you said, very early, and then you went to about 6, and you took a little bit of a break. And then you were about 11 when you started back up again?
Well, we were talking last night. I was 9 when I started.
Okay.
9 years old when I started bowling again. By the age of 12, I was averaging 120 already.
That's the thing I just find ridiculous is that you start bowling again, by the time you're 12, you're averaging 120, and it comes very naturally to you. One of the things that we talked about yesterday too is that it wasn't just the natural ability that you had. You put the work in to not only maintain that 120, but then get much better.
Well, my grandfather always told me if I was going to bowl the right way. I guess it worked. Paid attention. It did come, it has to come naturally. You have to have some natural ability. But it was something I liked, I was good at, I stuck to it. And here I am going into the Hall of Fame.
Can you believe it, the Hall of Fame?
No, it really hasn't hit me yet. It's starting to get there with my grandson's bowling now. They're the reason I'm going in. They nominated me. I had Tony Green, Paul Nelly, and Don Riley helping out too. So they're excited for me. I'm excited now. It's getting there. I'm nervous.
Yeah, but like with the nerves, but also when we were talking, like the juices start flowing again, like starting to.
Well, yes, sitting here now in a bowling alley, I don't want to do this. I want to put my shoes on and bowl. I love bowling. It's in my blood, always will be. When I walk into a bowling alley, I don't want to watch, I want to bowl. That's not my part.
Yeah, it's hard to be in the sideline, I think, for some guys because you've excelled for so long, and when you're away from it, maybe it kind of gets out of your mind a bit, but now the Hall of Fame is here, and you're seeing a lot of people that you haven't seen in a long time, so that kind of gets you back into it. One of the stories I thought was pretty funny is when you were 13, and they happened to have a roll-off for Channel 5, and they put you in as a pace setter. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was 13. The finals were at Riverwalk Lanes in Saucier, my home alleys. And Bernie Dunham won the roll-off with 630. I was the pacer. I hit 658. I would have won it. And that was when Tony Caron had the streak of 15 in a row, who I eventually beat. But I would have bowled him back in 1970 when I was 13 if I was allowed to get on TV. I was too young.
That's amazing. Let's fast forward a bit. Let's talk about your streak. Because that's something, I mean, I'm 36, so when I was talking yesterday with you, like, the Tom Olszta of the 80s and the 90s is what I remember the most. And I remember in 93, that beginning of the streak, and it just seemed to keep going and going and going. And you had your spots where it looked like perhaps you may not make it, but we saw like with Craig Holbrook, the triangle of the ninth and then the triple to win it. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, you're bowling the match, you just try. And you get lucky. A strike is, you're lucky in the game, even though you're trying to throw one. You don't throw a lot of strikes in Candlepin. And I knew I was still in the match against Craig. I needed at least a double strike in there. But in the ninth frame, I dropped to 7, and I had to pick that shot, that chance. And it did. It gave me a chance in the 10th box. I needed a double strike. I threw a triple. The rest is history. And I could have lost that week. It would have been the 4th week. And I ended up going 19 more weeks and lost.
And you just carried that right into the live show, and you were number 1, and ended up winning again on there. And I remember the replay of when you threw the triple, and I thought your head went through the roof of the Fairway Sports Rope. That was.
I get razzed about that. They didn't realize I could jump so high, and with the shirt coming out, the stomach sticking out, and all that. My grandkids give me a hard time on it. They're always,
Who cares? It was a $1,000 shot to win.
Yeah.
So that's, I just think that's tremendous. We were talking yesterday about the state tournament, about what it used to be like, and the kind of response that you get from fans. And you were talking to me about the fairway at a young age, just going in there your first time, what that response was like.
You'd walk into the Fairway Sports World for the state tournament, and they had 32 lanes there. You couldn't see the lanes. There were so many people in there watching the tournament. It was packed. There was, you say 500? No, there was 600 people in there. It was just packed with people. It was a very huge bowling alley, so people fit well in it. There was that many people watching these tournaments, and the lanes were full for every shift. And they started at 9 o'clock in the morning, the last shift was 7 o'clock at night, and all 32 lanes would go day in, day out for the state tournament. It was something else.
What does that do to you if you're in a situation like when we talked about on 5, you're going that third show? What does it do to you mentally and physically that you know you have to keep going if you want to come back?
Well, the third show is the hardest to bowl. It's not that you bowl a lot of strings. It's just that it's 6 hours later, you still bowl. And that is a tough show to win. But you get caught up in the match. And your body, everything takes over. You don't feel it. You just keep on going. It's hard to explain. When you're working, you work all day long, you realize at the end you're tired. You just keep on going. And when you're in a tight match, adrenaline, that's all it is.
And it just becomes natural. I mean, the word that I think we were talking about yesterday was conditioning. You're mentally conditioned for, and one of the things I asked you is that when did that mental conditioning and that psychology come into play? And I think that's something pretty interesting.
To me, it's just like a job. You get used to it. When you start a new job, you're nervous. After a few days, a few weeks on the job, it's like you've been there forever. And getting on TV after the first few times, it was part of it. I got very used to it, bowling in front of the cameras, bowling in front of crowds. It didn't bother me. You had little butterflies, but they were gone right away. As soon as I threw that first ball, I was in my comfort zone.
And everything else was blocked out. The person you were bowling against, the conditions.
Yeah, you blocked everything out. You didn't hear anything. Sometimes I watch the old tapes just to listen to what went on in the background. What people were yelling and screaming because I didn't hear them when I was bowling.
Because that's half of the experience. Because you're totally locked in on what you're trying to do down there, and everything else around you, it doesn't matter. You just have that ability to focus and concentrate. Block that out, and how many guys are envious of that ability that you just kind of came with right out of the gate?
I guess I was blessed with that. It's just something, it was good. I was able to just concentrate on what I was doing, and I didn't pay attention to anybody else. You can't in bowling. There's no defense. It's all offense. You bowl. You can't control what the other guy is doing. Unless you want to watch him and he's going good, and you get nervous and say, I can't beat him, he's bowling too good. You can come back from any situation. There's water matches. Halfway through, I'm 35, 36 spins down, and I win. You don't worry about it. All of a sudden, the pins start falling for me. I'm going to score.
And one of the things that we talked about was people watching you in that situation, and when you start stringing a couple marks together when you're down, and that's where that psychology comes back into the match, is that they start worrying about you and not what they can do themselves on the lane. It is all offense.
Yeah, it's a nice advantage to have. They're waiting for me to start throwing marks instead of paying attention to their own game. I always just try to pay attention to my own game, and that's it. Never mind what they're doing.
Who do you feel like was your toughest opponent that you bowled against in your career? Or give me a few, because...
Well, Peter Flynn by far was an unbelievable bowler. Tournaments, I mean, when he started scoring, he was unbelievable. Peter could really bowl. We had Paul Berger, who seemed to have my number quite a few times. I had tough matches with Paul Berger, Gary Carrington, Chris Sargent. There was so many, on and on. Craig Holbrook, who was a teammate of mine, I meet on Channel 5. He's also going into the Hall of Fame tonight. Just tough competitors.
It must have been unusual, because I think when you beat him during the streak, Craig and you were partners at that time. Because I think I remember Don was mentioning that at that point in time, he was your doubles partner. So,
yes, we bowled in the World Team Tournament together for a few years. I know what he's capable of. I know what I'm capable of. And I don't think either one of us had any heads there over the other one on what's going on. We both knew and expected it, so that's probably why we had such a good match, a high-scoring match. I didn't throw him off his game when I started marking. He didn't throw me off mine.
Well, it made for great television, I'll tell you that much. You have your speech written for tonight?
Oh, yes.
You feel
that was hard writing that speech. I had a little help, I have to say. My wife helped me quite a bit with it.
Wow.
I got my speech, and it's...
You'd rather be bowling...
Oh, I'd rather be bowling
on that podium.
Making a speech, doing this. This isn't my comfort zone. Bowling was totally my comfort zone.
Especially houses like this.
Well, this is a throwback house. A house that I'm sure you're bowling in. It's loud with the pins falling. You can hear the balls coming back down the return, hitting the other balls. That's what I grew up in. A small 4-alley house, so everything echoed. And it was a 6-alley house. This is my type of bowling. 8-lane, small, noisy. It's bowling.
Yeah, and that's what we are trying to recreate here on Classic Candlepin, is the smells and the sounds and that kind of atmosphere here. So that's why we're happy you're here with us. And Tom Olszta, 2014 Hall of Fame. We'll be right back after this timeout.
In your new role, we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Back there, who's been a member of the ICBA Hall of Fame, and really, for promoter of the American-Canadian Bowling Championship event that was held up there at the Banquet, Riverwalk Lanes. You can't get there from here, Charlie, but we'll try. Anyway, Charlie, stand up and take a round of applause for all the work you've done for Candlepin Bowling over the years. Our next recipient is kind of a special, if you will. A couple of years ago, we had the Western New England Candlepin Bowling Association's adult Child's League event. And this youngster came up to me by the name of Nathan. He said, "Hey, Ralph, my granddad is Tom Olszta." I said, "Really? Have I got a deal for you? Come on up here, Nathan. I'm going to turn this over to you, and you're going to make a presentation of one, what's his name? Oh, there we go, Tommy Olszta. Step right up. You want a chair? Here, let me get a chair. Stand up here.
You are.
Raise the microphone, okay? Remember, Murphy said 5 minutes. Here, I'll hold it up for you so you can read it. How's that?
So you all know my grandfather, Tom Olszta, a person who has taught us all a unique chapter of Candlepin Bowling, and that is why he is going to the Hall of Fame. When I was 2 years old, I used to watch my grandfather on TV, and I studied his perfect form. He taught me 2 things. 1, don't get distracted, and 2, be accurate. Today, I have won 4 state championships and still running, so you can say I learned it well. He also does a lot for us. He drove me, my cousin, and my brother to Florida 26 hours straight. So if you want to remember something about him on this night, this moment, you should remember this. My grandfather, Tom Olszta, the person who I look up to and the person who I consider the greatest bowler in Candlepin Bowling who ever lived. Not because of averages or scores, but how he loved, played, and respected the sport we call Candlepin Bowling.
Come on up. We got another one here. Come on up.
What a crowd, I tell you. I actually wrote this speech at the last minute before he actually got to Mass because I was so worried. I didn't know what to write. There was so much to write about, so that's what I got nervous about. He got the easy way out. I got the hard way out when it comes to speech. Alright. When it comes to Candlepin Bowling, there has been no greater bowler than Tommy Olszta. This man made what Candlepin Bowling is today. I'm very lucky to have a grandfather considered me the best Candlepin bowler ever. Not just by me, but everybody who has ever bowled with him ever in the history of the sport. This man is the reason why I chose to do Candlepin Bowling in the first place. Ever since I was a toddler, I remember watching all of his videos of his greatest, most memorable wins on TV. I really look up to him a lot, still this day. From his form to his body English, he still has in the lanes today. He's my hero for as long as I can remember. He really means a lot to me. I love him very much. It's been a very long time coming. And I'm finally proud to say, as of October 18, 2014, Tommy Olszta is a member of the International Candlepin Bowling Association Hall of Fame. The best that ever was, and most likely the best that ever will be to play this game. We finally inducted in the Hall of Fame, and he now proudly belongs where he's always been.
All I can say is it doesn't get any better than that, ladies and gentlemen, when your grandfather is being inducted into the Hall of Fame and they have the opportunity to make that recommendation. I was so thrilled when he came up and told me that my granddad was Tom Olszta. And I said, you need to do that. So, 2 of you, thank you so much for doing that. I'm not going to read it. This guy jumps out of the magazine. Tommy, it's yours. Congratulations.
hard act to follow. But I would like to say a little thing. 5 minutes?
You got that?
I have 10 cans. You got that? Where's Dan? Oh, Dan, before I start this, I'd like to just ask you one thing. Back in 1973, I was 16. I bowled in my very first tournament, and it was the 10-singer at Fairway Sports Group. I bowled with you. Were you shaking that day? Oh, just a little bit? Oh, just, work with me. Thank you. Age sets in, I need cheaters now.
Can you see 60 feet?
Jason, would you like to hold this for me? I'm all set. You would. All right. I'd like to thank my grandsons, Aaron and Nathan Fontaine, for nominating me. I'd also like to thank Tony Marie Waldenelli and Don Riley for their nominations too, and for the work they put in. Tony and Don were my bowling partners for many years. My bowling career started with my grandfather, Ben Hamilton, who would take me from my crib and bring me to the bowling alley when I was an infant. He lived with us. At the age of 2, I'd be there bowling. After that, I never left the lanes for very long. At the age of 9, I met the LaBelle family, owners of the Hippodrome Lanes in Southbridge, Mass. This is where I sharpened my bowling skills, averaging 120 and hitting my first 400 at the age of 12. And this is where it all started for me. The LaBelle family was an important part of my life, especially A.J. LaBelle, who was there through it all. He has traveled all the way from Wisconsin to be here tonight with me and my family. Thank you, A.J. Candlepin bowling has given me many opportunities. The one I value most is the friendships I have made over the years. I'd also like to thank my family for being there through it all, especially my wife of 35 years, Karen. Put up with me that long, hopefully a lot longer, who has blessed me with 3 wonderful children, Keith, Carrie, and Tommy. They all had to listen to me relive box by box of that or TV show all the way home. It was a long ride every time. I'd also like to thank my mother, Phyllis, for always making time to get me to the alley. One little story here, especially one time after a bad Friday night of league bowling. I came out of the bowling alley. I took my favorite shoes, which a lot of people saw on Channel 5. Mikey can attest to that. My feet were coming out. Took them out of my bowling bag. Took my bowling bag, my bowling balls, threw them down and banged towards the river. I thought that was the end. That. I was wrong. About a month later at Christmas time, while exchanging gifts, my mother gives me this heavy box. I thought to myself, yes, new bowling ball. To my surprise, when I opened it, there was my money bowling bag and bowling balls. Merry Christmas, Mom, she said. A lesson learned. I've handled my disappointing scores on a different level after that. We still laugh about it every Christmas. Thanks, Mom. In closing, there's not enough time to thank or acknowledge all the people who have touched my life in this game. I love Candlepin bowling. It's in my blood, it's in my family. My grandfather, Ben Hamilton, who always told me, if you're going to bowl right, bowl right. Bowl the right way. Well, Grant, I guess I did. Thanks.
Without saying a word, it can tell you so much. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time. Time to call 911 immediately. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Learn the body language, the sudden signs, and spot a stroke fast.
Tell you what, there's some great stories, and it's wonderful to hear the relationship to go on in this game, that's for sure. Next on the list, from Old Orchard, Maine, Don Saucier, proposed by Rick Jones. Tim, would you bring Don up? And again, Don was one of those guys that were up there a couple weeks ago watching the ICBA championships and just thinking about old history, I guess. Don enters the ICBA Hall of Fame tonight with credentials from an earlier era, one that largely overlapped the current area in the sport of Candlepin bowling. Don won or excelled in several events sponsored by the WCBC district, distinct from the WCBC Pro Tour. The WCBC was the predecessor of the ICBA, the organization that now oversees the Candlepin Bowling Hall of Fame and the Candlepin industry as a whole. Don Saucier's stellar Candlepin career began in 1954 when he won the Junior Twin City Candlepin Championships. In 1956, he won the Twin City Championship, followed by his becoming the 1958 York County Champion. 1960, he became the Western Maine Champion at the age of 20. This is a title he would come to defend on 25 separate occasions. In what was known as the World Candlepin Tournament, Don truly took care of business. He won the 1966 and 1967 mixed doubles events with Don Vanderveer. In 1968, Don's Big 20 team won the WCBC Team Championships. And in 1969, he won both the men's singles and the all-men's titles in the World Championship. That same year, he paired with Rose Rankin to win the mixed doubles crown. Don's final WCBC tournament victory came in 1972 when his Congress Square team took home the title. Other highlights in his illustrious Candlepin career include 1968 Western Maine sectional title, a second-place finish in the record American singles event with a 1372 10-string total, and a 1966 record American national doubles title. When you say came in second, it kind of reminds me of Jerry Seinfeld, who says, you can win the gold and you can win the bronze. But when you win the silver, you almost won. Don made several successful television appearances throughout his Candlepin career in the state of Maine. In 1980, he paired with Hall of Famer Tony Marie Baldinelli to win 3 matches on the Candlepin Mixed Doubles show on Channel 5 in Massachusetts. Finally, truly overlapping an era, Don was the last pin boy from 1953 to 1956 at the Big 20 in Scarborough. Perhaps Don's entry in the IBC Hall of Fame is late arriving. Nonetheless, it's truly well deserved, and a fine gentleman, and he cannot be great. Congratulations.
I'm a little nervous being up here. I want to thank Rick Jones for nominating me, thank the ICBA for inducting me. I really love bowling and love bowling my whole life, still do. I got a few stories here maybe that I might want to say. Okay.
We're not taking it back. We're just
Like he said, I started as a pin board, 1954, 55, and that's where I learned how to bowl. Because I learned my woods being in the pits. In 1956, I was still a pin boy, and it was on a Wednesday night. The ladies would bowl on a Wednesday. In the 50s, there wasn't a lot of ladies in the bowling house like there is now. And I was checking out the ladies. And I looked up and I saw this beautiful girl up there. And I told fellow pin boy show, now I'm gonna have to talk about my TV show. I was bowling on Channel 13 in Maine. 4 boxes to go. I'm 30 pins behind. Still think I'm gonna win. I'm 30 pins behind. 7 box I got a spare. The 8 box I put a strike on it. The 9 box I put another strike on it. The last box, chopped 3 through the middle. Put the next ball in the hole. I need 1 pin to tie, 2 to win. I pressed the button. I thought it was my last box. I did a hole in one, because it was one of his holes that. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I was really nervous when I got here. I feel pretty good right now.
Next on our list, Craig Holbrook. Tim, if you please put Craig up for us. Sponsored by John Candlepin. His last appearance was a week ago at Big 20. He did pretty well too. Craig's induction into the ICBA Hall of Fame is a highlight of a brilliant Candlepin career. By all indications, is far from over. Like I said, he was up there at Big 20 a week ago. At the age of 53, he continues to be a dominant force in our sport and shows no sign of slowing down. One of the most prolific southpaws ever to hold the Candlepin ball, as you will soon read. Craig has amassed a repertoire that spans 2 states and includes sundry success stories at all levels of competition at the professional level. His personal best in the sport of Candlepin bowling include a high single of 197, a high triple of 508, a high 5 of 781, and a high 10-game total of 1461. Craig has bowled 190 or better on 19 different occasions. However, he has yet to bowl that coveted 200 string. How many did it once? He also has bowled a 400 series or better in excess of 1,000 times. Wow. During his career, Craig has competed on all major pro tours in our sport, finishing as a bowler of the year on no less than 6 occasions, and as a runner-up 6 times. On the WCBC Pro Tour, Craig accumulated 15 overall Tour wins. He has won 8 individual tournaments, and to date, on today's current Pro Tour, the Pro Series, as if these statistics were not enough, he has finished in the top 10 on at least 1 Pro Tour for 25 consecutive years, and in the top 5 and 17 of 27 total years of competition. He was also the Bowler of the Year in 2012 on the Senior Pro Tour. Is that old? In the Easter Sunday Classic with his attractive $5,000 first place prize, Craig has 3 wins, 3 runner-up finishes, and 18 top 10 finishes, 13 of which place him in the top 5. In 23 years of competition, his overall average in the prestigious event for 460 strings tops a lofty 128.66. Wow. Imagine keeping track of all those old In Massachusetts and New Hampshire state championships play, Craig recorded a record of accomplishments of staggering 65 overall titles, including 6 all events, 15 single victories. Headline this list of dual state tournament dominance. Craig's efforts in the World Invitation Tournament, which pits USA versus the Canadian team, are equally admirable. He was on the winning teams in 89, 94, 98, 2008. In the knockout singles competition associated with this event, Craig won titles in 2004, 2013. He also finished as a runner-up, but no less than 7 times. His teams have qualified for the playoffs in all 27 of the years he has partaken in the event. Craig has competed in all the Canadian Candlepin TV offerings that ran simultaneous with his outstanding Candlepin career. He's had 14-7 record on Channel 5, losing 427 to 422 in the final box of 1 show. The loss was made even more painful by tonight's fellow inductee, Tom Olszta, when the latter threw a triple strike in the final frame to seal the victory. Sorry about that, Craig. You got one heck of a especially considering the two bowlers who performed in. Congratulations, Craig, on becoming a member of the 2014 Hall of Fame.
First, I was going to try to do this on my own without notes, and then when it got to be 8 pages long, I said, oh my God. Then I tried to put it on little note cards and figured I wouldn't be able to see it because now my vision's going. But here we go. First of all, I'm not going to make everyone stand up, but one guy does. He's the one that submitted my Hall of Fame application. His name is Irby Capellas. See, where is he? Right there. He's one of Candlepin Bowling's best friends. You know, he does the digital video work for the important tournaments that are most recent now. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see them. And I thank him so much for submitting that application. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So, thanks. And the committee, thanks a lot for them too. Put me in on the first ballot. Okay, we'll go with that. It was great. All right, now, as a kid, Saturday mornings at Carlisle Bowl, it was 8 in the morning. You know, I'm probably 9, 10 years old, and there's 60 kids in there for 10 lanes, 6 on the lane. All my friends are bowling. God, that was a lot of fun. That was when it all first started. But this is where it really gets interesting. My mother, who is the most friendliest, nicest, almost the unofficial mayor of Whitman, got me some bowling shoes at a discount bowling, actually a discount shoe store. And they said rejects on the bottom. Now, how tough is that for a kid that's 8 years old to try to be able to get through that? So as you can see, it didn't have much of an effect on me. I'm standing right here. So. Also, with the kids too, I do a lot of the rock and bowls and the kids' tournaments. And that's, you know, I have the most fun, especially when a young kid makes a beautiful shot and gets all excited. That really brings me back to when I was a kid too. I enjoy that a lot. Okay, now I have a good intramural bowling story from high school. I was on the basketball team at the time, and they had practices on Wednesday afternoon, but they also had intramural bowling on Wednesday afternoon. The teachers bowled, all the kids bowled, so I decided I was going to bowl. I wasn't going to basketball practice. So sure enough, I did like 4:07. They announced it the next morning on the announcements, and after the announcements are over, you know, some of the teachers come up to me and says, you know, you have to go to Coach Belden's office. I said, okay. So the coach comes up and says, great, wow, I'm a bowler too, that's great. But guess what? He's suspended for 2 games because you missed practice. Now, I'm going to introduce one other guy. His name is Dennis Chick, and he's a great bowler himself, and he's a really good friend of mine. Someone that I really looked up to as a young bowler, you know, getting more towards an adult now. And he loves all sports just like me, and he always had a kind boost of confidence to me, and there really is a bowler. So I thank him a lot. That was page 1. All right, now. I won a Channel 27 roll-off in high school, and I have to see a tape before I go. So I'm in high school, and off we go to Sammy White's Bright Bowl to see a taping live, so I know exactly what the process is. So when I actually go on, I'm going to be okay at it. So sure enough, I show up to Sammy White's, and there's a huge crowd there. And I'm curious, I'm like, okay, who's bowling? Why is there so many people here? Sure enough, it's Tom Olszta. And as always, he bowls fantastic, making shots, throwing strikes, getting crazy like he used to get his arms up in the air. And after it's all over, we're in the car, and all my friends that I brought with me, they're like, wow, wasn't that incredible? This guy's unbelievable. And I'm just sitting in the car with my hands on the steering wheel like, I gotta go back to the drawing board. I'm not even as close to being as good as he is. And actually that worked out pretty well, because that helped. Yeah. All right, next is Doug Smith. Doug Smith is owner of Situate Bowlaway in Situate, and he's an awesome bowler himself when he was bowling with me. He was the first one that convinced me to bowl on the Pro Tour, because, you know, I was kind kind of still being a kid, not really thinking bowling was that important, but he, sure enough, made sure that I was on the tour, and he was my first sponsor, and the first year I was Rookie of the Year in the Pro Tour, so that worked out really good too. He also was with me for my first state title. I won the men's doubles, and back then we had to win it on TV. We were the third seed, and we had to win 2 strings, and both of the strings were won by 1 pin. And he was the more veteran of the 2 at the time, so he was bowling anchor. So I would roll my 5 boxes, sit down, and then I'd watch his knees up there knocking the whole time. But sure enough, he came through in the clutch and he won both strings, and that was my first state title. So that was awesome. Thanks a lot, Doug. That was great. All right. Now, next guy is Jimmy Powers, who is an unbelievable bowler himself, and hopefully one day he'll be here in the Hall of Fame too. My first World Championships, which Charlie Milan invented, and I consider that the most important tournament we have. It lasts the whole week, and it's really a good time. He brought me up there for my first one, and I didn't really have a lot of money at the time, so he very generously took me up there. We took a plane flight, we had a hotel room for the week, he supplied all the food for the week, and I can't thank him enough for bringing me up there, because that's when I really first learned to bowl as a teammate with other bowlers. He had a lot of veterans on his team at the time, and that's how I learned team bowling, because at the time, mostly Candlepin was kind of singles. It wasn't really, we'd have league bowlers and bowl in the leagues, but it was always a singles thing. So finally, that was the first time that it really came up to me that team bowling was a lot of fun, and it still is. All right, now, Billy Treacle's the next one. Another really great bowler. He's a great friend. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, but he taught me calmness under pressure. When you're bowling against a team and they're throwing a lot of marks at you and things are looking really bad, he was always the influence that would get me through it. You know, we all would panic or whatever, but he never would, and that's what I learned from him. It was outstanding. Thanks a lot, Bill. Okay, now, this is where it gets to me. This is what I learned from bowling, geography. You go from Halifax, Nova Scotia, to Cape Cod, Mass, to Baltimore, Maryland. I don't need a GPS. All you gotta do is tell me where the bowling alley is. And I can find any restaurant nearby. I'm all set. And friendship. Rich or poor, nice, some people not so nice. If you're bold, you're a part of my life, and I always supported everyone. And sportsmanship. I had a lot of wins, I also had a lot of losses. The most famous one of all time. And it sure does make you humble. And accounting, this is a really good story too. Channel 5 sent me a check for $15,000. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? Joanne Panto at the time, I think was the secretary, it was supposed to be $1,500. Well, I sent that one back. Now, I'm going to talk about Channel 5 and Don Gillis. Don Gillis always treated us like we were stars, like a Red Sox player, a Bruins player. He thought we were the greatest, and I really appreciate that a lot. But I'm watching one of the shows that is taped, I'm watching it at home, and he says that I had a lot of poise as a young bowler. That wasn't poise, that was fear. Oh, here's a good one here. All the time, people would come up to me, and you can fill in the great bowler blank wherever you want. They'd always say to me, are you as good as? And I always said, no, I must not be. Well, just happened again recently. And the person comes up to me, and he's a casual fan of bowling, and he says, are you as good as Jonathan Boudreau? And I said, well, probably not. But as I'm standing here right now, at this podium, I'm as good as Jonathan Boudreau. Also, the Tom Olszta show itself. And this is, actually, I can't believe Phil Rubin's here, but after the show was over, you'd think you'd be disappointed. So Phil comes into the bathroom with me, and if you ever do Natick, it didn't have air conditioning, it was really hot in there. So I'm trying to get out of my bowling clothes and put my regular clothes on. So he comes into the bathroom and he says, Craig, what a great show. He says, but I noticed you really not too upset. Well, I lost to probably the greatest bowler of all time in the most incredible fashion. He throws a triple strike in the last box to beat me. How can I be disappointed? I mean, I'm part of history. That's just great. So that's why I wasn't too disappointed. Another thing about TV. You're watching TV at home, and you can see yourself through the years as a young bowler to an old bowler. So one of the shows, they had shots from camera angles from behind. So I'm watching with people in there saying, wow, you're really bowling good today. And the only thing I noticed, I'm getting the ball spot! All right, now, for all the team members that I've had, past and present, I've won a lot of things with them. But the most recent guys, Bob Whitcomb, John Zappi, Mike Kucha, there's no more gratifying victory in the world than when you can share it with friends and celebrate it. And I've always been lucky to be surrounded by really good bowlers and really good people. So I thank all those guys for that. You guys are outstanding. We're still at it today. Going right to we were in the championship match of the World Tournament just this past year with that same group of guys. Those guys are awesome. Okay, now, the most important person, I wouldn't be here without her, is my wife, Rose. She's a nurse manager. Now think about that. Two words separated, nurse and manager. How lucky am I to have that as my wife? We've been married 26 years. She's a wonderful lady who deserves all the highest love and appreciation that I have for taking care of the family at home so I could bowl in all the important events that I had to be in so I could get here. I love you, honey. I have two daughters. They're both in their 20s. Wow, it seems amazing. The time flies. But one of them, her name is Mara, and she's got the red hair that I used to have. And she graduated summa cum laude at college, and what a great young lady she is. And the next daughter is Tori. She's a huge Bruins fan, which is nice. And she's in her third year of college, and she takes honors courses. Wow. She's a lot smarter than I am. She has a great sense of humor, and we love to laugh together. And I'm getting to the end now, I'm almost there. My dad is the last one. He passed this year, and God, he was one of Candlepin Bowling's greatest fans. He loved it. He taped almost every show. He watched every show from like 1972 on. And I would sit there in the living room with him and watch all the shows. So, hey, if the Hall of Fame committee ever needs anybody, I'm putting in my application because I've been watching things and being involved since 1972. So it's been a while. But anyways, he was always a detailed person. He wanted to know what kind of balls I was using on certain lanes, and he always wanted to know what happened in detail, whether I won or lost. So I really miss him a lot. He was my biggest fan also. Okay, now I'm finishing. If Bob Foraker was here, he would say, Craig Whitman from Holbrook, you're in the Hall of Fame.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked. Thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Stay right here. I want all couple more things to do. I want all the inductees tonight to please come forward. You have an obligation to take. So please, all inductees, make sure you got your pin on your lapel or on your blouse. Please come forward, stand up here next to Tim. And then after that, we'll have a picture of those people, and I want a picture of all Hall of Famers up here as well. So those that are inducted tonight, please come forward. Come on, Lynn. Danny, you may look them up. Danny Murphy. Lynn. All Hall of Famers, please come forward now. Make sure you have your pin on. Huh? Still coming. Come on, Hawk. Jimmy. Right over there. We're going to have to take an obligation, everyone. All Hall of Famers, please come forward. Val, Judy. No, I just want the newest one. Stay here, Mike. Mike, you're going to be here in a minute. Just tonight. Those that were inducted tonight, please come forward. Can I have your attention, please? One last event, we'll be ready to roll. Hall of Famers, please raise your right hand.